G'day guys, I'm going to do a short clip today on just finishing off your decking using a old traditional painter's formula with decking oil. But before I go into that, I just want to show you what a deck looks like after 25 years using this oil. Now this area here is completely exposed to the elements, and you can see after 25 years this is Merbau decking, but it's still in really sound condition. Around here you can see that where the weather sort of comes in and fades out, you can see where the decking oil around this area is still intact. Now I haven't put this decking oil system on here for at least 5 years, but it has been the only decking oil that's gone on the veranda over the 25-year period. Now this formula was given to me by my father-in-law, who was a painter of over 60 years, Jack Grigg, and it works. Now with anything, the first thing to do with any painting is good preparation. So I'm just using a Bunnings bought detergent, just a workshop detergent, and a weed sprayer to apply it. Now all I'm doing is simply giving that a squirt onto the decking. You've got to remember, this is only just to remove any loose dirt. It won't remove paint or any other. And I'm using a floor polish that I bought, 30 years ago at a market. It's just one of the old floor polishes, and I'm sure you can hire something similar. And I'm going over it, just giving it I give it a light buff with this. I then squirt a bit of water onto it and give it a similar light buff, and then wash it off thoroughly. Okay, so you can see why I don't like having to do decking, varnishing and finishing every 6 to 8 months or 12 months if you're using the pre-mixed deckings in the can, which don't last very long. Okay, so here's where all the action is going to start. What we're using is a boiled linseed oil. Now you can use normal linseed oil, but boiled linseed oil, when it dries off, it comes to a harder finish. Standard mineral terps and terabene. Now this terabene speeds up the drying of the linseed oil. The old traditional painters used to use it in enamel based paints if the weather was looking inclement and they wanted to speed up the drying on an oil based paint. You can see it's got a little bit of a purple colour to it, which sort of adds nicely to the colour of your oil. You really don't see that much of it. It's mixed at 20 parts to 1. This is a pale linseed oil. The one I used to use was actually just normal boiled linseed oil, which is a lot darker. So this one really is just putting on a coating. So all I've done is because I'm just freshening up this deck. Now again, remember, this hasn't been done for at least 5 years. Just simply I'm mixing a 50-50 ratio between the linseed and the turpentine, and then a bit over half a can of the terabene into a bucket. And you can see when it's mixed, it really doesn't have much colour to it at all. So I give that a good mix up, and then into a paint tray. Now when I'm applying this time, I'm just using a small roller just to get around the edges of the house. So when I'm putting it on with the Lambswool applicator here, I'm not slopping it all up against the house and on the decking. Now it's just simply a matter of wetting it, and you can see how easily that applies. I'm not getting much drip, really any drip through underneath the decking, which is important if there's something underneath it that you don't want to get wet. Now you can see it is an oil, and it will penetrate. It actually penetrates into the timber. Unlike the other ones, the decking stains, which sit on the top and literally dry, and then in a very short time they've disappeared. This will take a couple of days. By tomorrow morning it'll be touch dry, but it needs a couple of days to harden up before you start using it. The next key is if it's new decking, the grain is usually quite tight still, and you've still got the oils and the timber. So you need to only put a very, very thin coat on. Don't get carried away putting on a thick coat. Put a thin coat on, let it dry for a week, and then decide if you need another coat, and you'll probably find that you don't. So the key is not to put it on too thick, otherwise it can stay gummy. But the beauty of it is, as you can see, it penetrates into the timber, and this is 25 years old and never had anything else on it but this system. All right, and you can see it's still in excellent condition. Adding a stain to it, look, you just got to make sure that you use an oil-based stain. Now let these cockatoos pass. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so just make sure you use a stain that washes up in terps. Basically, that'll mix in fine with the linseed oil. But you know, with anything, try a test sample first. Make sure you like it. You know, you can buy half a litre of linseed oil and make yourself a little test sample, and see how you go. But you know, looking at the costing, that there, which is probably cost me about $60 all up, is going to do this whole deck with one coat. So it's a very economical way of doing your deck. Hope this has been helpful, guys. See you later.